What's in the stars and the cards for you this week ahead? Welcome to the Weekly Energy Show with me, Irena. Let's jump in. As you jump on, say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. I feel like the energy of the Jupiter Venus conjunction from last week and getting ready for eclipse season, as well as this new moon in Virgo coming up on Saturday, is really creating a lot of shifts. And shift is happening. There's a lot of change in my clients' lives. They're reaching out to me. They're asking, about why are certain things falling apart. I thought this Jupiter Venus conjunction was supposed to be amazing. All these blessings and abundance raining down. It's supposed to be that cosmic jackpot. What's going on? And, I really, at that point, encourage all of you, like I encourage my clients, take a moment to pause and to ground because things are shifting. Shift is happening. I always consider an eclipse as an opportunity to shift. It kind of shakes things up. It allows what has already been cracked, those cracks in the walls, for the light to finally shine through. And the astrology leading up to that is really helping to prepare us if we are paying attention, if we're awake, if we're alert, if we're doing our spiritual practices so that we can be ready and prepared when opportunities present themselves. And we can move beyond, let's say, the bruised egos or the hurt feelings. It doesn't deny the hurt or the pain that's happened or excuse maybe the person or the thing that caused it. But what it's doing is it's saying, tend to the garden of your own heart so that you'll be ready when the opportunity comes around. Because if you're still nursing those wounds and that hurt and that pain, it's going to be hard to see and receive the gifts that are presenting themselves. So let me see. Hello, Julie. Hello, Hannah. So glad that you found me and we're all together. Let's place hands on heart. And I'm going to take a moment to ground, and I'm going to bring you through this grounding practice. This is part of my root flush fill. If you haven't grabbed it, go ahead to irenamiller.co/get calm. And that is an area where you can download something similar as to what I'm going to bring you through right now. But that's a 2-minute downloadable, audible version that you can listen to again and again. It's my gift to you. So to ground, bring your awareness into your heart space. You can place your hand on your heart. You can place one on the solar plexus and take a few deep breaths. There's lots of gremlins running around, so to speak, fears, worries, eclipse energy. We're getting ready to move into that. It's coming up in September. We have the first one, September 7th, and the next one, September 21st, I believe. And what's happening is primally, eclipses have created fear. The light has disappeared in the sky. The days have gone dark in the middle of the day. It's gotten very cold. Animals have gone quiet. And when that happened centuries ago, and we didn't have the understanding, technology, awareness that we do today, it caused great fear. And that's still on some level in our energetic DNA from our ancestors. So even though eclipses mean something different for us in the modern world than they did for our ancestors centuries ago, something still gets triggered and we can start to tailspin. So awareness in the heart, hand on the solar plexus, and breathe. Remember who you are. Visualize a color, a song, or a word, or even say your name to remind yourself of your energy, your vibration. Breathe. That's it. Deep belly breaths, using the diaphragm, activating your third chakra, that energy center in the solar plexus, the I am, your confidence, the willpower. I will. Breathe. Whatever's going on, this is just a bump in the road. The universe is helping you course correct. Breathe. Relax the sacrum, unclench your buttocks. I'm giggling because second chakra, the back of it, which is in the sacral area, came to mind. So relax. We want the root energy center at the tailbone to be open and vibrant, not to shut down. even if things are stressful, even if we want to go into fight or flight. That root chakra is vital. All of the energy centers to be open, 100% active and engaged. You learn how to protect yourself in other ways, not by shutting down the energy centers. Breathe. Good, much better. Now, soften the soles of your feet and imagine shining a flashlight from your tailbone, like a beautiful green flashlight, all the way down between the legs, down through the floors beneath you, all the way to the earth itself. And down this green light moves through 6 layers of earth: topsoil, subsoil, down through a layer of granite, a layer of fire, crystals, that's it, down through a layer of magma to the very core and heartbeat of Mother Earth. And there at the core of the earth, there's a resonance, a frequency called the Schumann resonance, and it calms the nervous system. Imagine it like a drum beat or the heartbeat of Mother Earth, calming you, bringing you into simple beat, simple rhythm. It's going to be okay. All is okay. All is well. Whatever comes of the situation will be good. Breathe. That's it. And then imagine sending a light from the solar plexus or even the top of the first chakra all the way up, shining a beautiful golden beam of light up through the heart, up through the throat, up through the head, out the crown, up through the clouds, the atmosphere beyond to the very center of our cosmos, the galactic star, and connect to the heavens. There's many different ways to ground, many different ways you can practice. This is just one way I'm being inspired to share with all who are tuning in now and in the future. Breathe. And anything in your space that isn't serving your highest, flush it down to the earth, like you're flushing the toilet, to recycle it into something of great beauty. Breathe. Can you feel that drum beat? And the image of the hexagon is coming through so beautifully and so strongly. What does that represent for you? The universe is built on sacred geometry. What is that rhythm? Beautiful shape, symbolizing for you. Good. There was a shift in the throat for someone, so I'm just saying hello to that. And in the third eye. So sometimes we can get beside ourselves, especially when we get upset. You know that phrase, they were beside themselves. So this column of light that you've created, you can even envision coming down from the center of the cosmos through the body, what the yogis call the Sushumna Nadi. Imagine like a chiropractic adjustment, realigning your spirit with that central column of light. Good. And anything that's been in your space that isn't you, somebody else's opinion, thoughts, words, ideas, if you channel, if you pick up energetic hitchhikers, conversation for another time. That's what I dive into with my Energy Alchemist. I have a big program that teaches everyone how to cultivate their intuitive gifts, their clairs, and step into that role of knowing their superpowers. But that's it. Come back to you. Remember, call your spirit home. It's another way to think of it. Take one more breath. Beautiful. And then gently, like you're standing underneath a full moon, the beautiful golden glow of the moonlight, or even golden glow of the sun washes over the entire body, filling your spaces you've emptied and cleared with a beautiful golden light for neutrality. Beautiful. And take a breath. All right. Can you feel the shift a little bit after that? And I went longer than I anticipated, but I was picking up things from those of you who are joining me live, maybe even those who will watch later on. It's always good to practice good energetic hygiene and ground in the morning, at night, even at lunch. It's like laundry. We have to continue to practice grounding and clearing our energetic field because we get dirty, so to speak. We go out in the world, we pick up things, we catch energetic germs, other people's emotions, feelings, and we want to come back to who you are and into neutrality. And Julie, you said, oh yes, a big shift. Man, oh, I get goosebumps. Thanks for letting me know and thanks for sharing. Okay, now place your hand on your heart because here's the thing, we can do readings for ourselves. We can pull cards, we can look at our charts astrologically, but if we're not looking at it from our heart perspective, even if it's just our mind looking at it on its own, we really want that unification of heart and mind looking at things. But if we have other people's filters in our space, their fears, their opinions, their worries, it's going to make it very challenging for us to receive the message we need to receive because we'll almost hear it through the other person's filter. Take, for example, it could be even a job. You might have had family members, very well meaning, who said, you have to go traditional route. It's important that you get a job that's stable and you've got health care and yada, yada, only to find out, that's not really quite as stable as, one would might expect. And there are big shifts happening this week. The most important thing is you come back to remembering who you are and what your calling, your soul calling is in this life. And if you have curiosity about that, I do have some appointments available in August for one-on-one connections as far as reading your chart and giving you insight on what's happening, what's going on, because a lot of shifting with this eclipse. Many people are being affected. I keep talking about it with so many. So hand on the heart, we're going to tune in. What's most important that you need to know going into this week ahead? I'm just seeing who pops out. Change. Shift is happening. Holy cannoli. Look, it's the death and the rebirth card. Something needs to end. Those hopes and those dreams and those wishes that you have, in order for them to come in, you need to make room for them. Something has to give. You need to release. And this is a week of refinement, release, resetting. Virgo energy with the Virgo New Moon and Virgo Sun on Friday, meaning happy birthday, Virgos. It's almost Virgo season. If you are a Virgo, let us know. Put your birthday in the comments or say, hey, I'm a Virgo, so we can wish you all a happy, happy birthday. I love to do birthday horoscope readings too for you. So if you're interested in that, comment and I can share more. But what are you going to let go of this week? What are you going to release? This is a time of big change if you're willing. Now, if you don't want to change, and gosh, I mean, really, when it gets down to it, who really does? We may say we do, but it can be scary. We're getting ready for the unknown, but there's so much potential and possibility on the other side. The transitions are the tricky part. And the transitions are the part that a lot of people don't think about or focus. And when I was teaching yoga in my brick and mortar yoga studio many moon ago, I really like to emphasize the transition between the poses. So like from downward dog to chaturanga or to up dog or to warrior one. When you're going through the poses, it's important to retain integrity in the movement. Because if you lose your alignment, if you lose your focus, you could end up in misalignment and then injury. And we lose ourselves in the transition because we're like, oh, really, this isn't that important. The downward dog's important or the up dog's important or driving to the grocery store. The drive, that's not important. I do it 100 times a day or a week or month or whatever. And you go into automatic pilot and you just wake up, so to speak. You're like, oh, I didn't even remember driving here. Those are the points of transition. And it's easy for us to tune out because it's rote or familiar, or we just don't give it importance. We think, oh, it's not the end goal. That saying, it's the journey, not the destination. That's just emphasizing the transitions are very important. By you being aware and alert in the transition and not tuning out, it makes for a smoother shift so that when you arrive in your destination, you won't be out of alignment. It's something I just want you to keep in mind as we go forward. Okay, with that being said, by the way, if we haven't met, my name's Irena Miller. I'm an astrologer, a spiritual life guide, essentially what I call an energy alchemist. And my joy, and I've been doing this for over 2.5 decades, is helping curious empathic seekers use the sacred practices and tools that enable them to step into the life they live. A big part of that is tracking the lunar cycles and working with the cosmos to help you with divine right timing. So if this is something that you like, you want to develop your intuition and work with the timing of the cosmos, definitely subscribe, share this with a friend. I'm so thankful and so grateful for it because this week ahead, the overarching energy of the week is a release. It's waning. We're working towards that new moon in Virgo. So as the moon gets darker and darker, we're experiencing that dark side of the moon. It's a very intuitive and psychic time. We start to move into what's called the balsamic phase. So pay attention to your dreams, pay attention to the intuitive hits that come this week. If you're getting an inkling, even if it doesn't align with the logic of the situation, pause and take a moment to reassess, go for a walk with it, or clean the bathroom or the house or whatever. Get into some of the more mundane tasks so that the mind is kind of occupied, especially the hands. I find that occupying the hands calms the mind down. It gets that hamster wheel of thoughts quiet enough so that you can hear your intuition better. If you play an instrument, play an instrument. If you crochet or knit, do something with the hands so that you can hear the intuition coming through. Because as we kick off today with Monday, I've got my handy dandy little calendar with me because I'm on the road, so to speak, at my dad's house with him, not in my regular place. One of the big things to know is that the moon's void of course right now, and it's going to be void of course until this afternoon, so Eastern time, 3:05 p.m. We kicked off with the moon in Gemini. So let's just talk about moon void of course for a moment. It means that the moon's not having a conversation with any other planet. So your intuition, your feelings, your emotions, the moon itself, she's kind of just chilling. She's laying back a little bit. This is a bit of a liminal space. There's a lot of liminal energy this week, that in between energy where the veil is thin. And what I'm going to encourage you to do, especially today, is avoid like the big tasks as far as initiating something brand new or signing a big contract or making a big purchase. Those kinds of things done during a moon void, of course, usually means that something is going to fall through around it. If you do want something to fall through, like you're not quite serious about it, but you need to make an appointment or have a conversation with someone that you really don't want to have, make those conversations while the moon is void, of course. You can, email the person or whatnot. And then it'll probably fall through. But this is a reflection time because then at 3:00 the Eastern, the moon's going to move into Cancer. And that's going to move you into the emotions, the feelings. And because then the moon starts to have a conversation with Saturn and Neptune. And it's kind of one of a little bit of frustration. The moon and her emotions, hits up against Saturn, and Saturn's like, come on, you got to be realistic and down to earth. Let's come up with a plan. And Moon is like, no, but I was hurt before when I trusted this and I made this leap of faith. And Saturn's like, suck it up, buttercup, there's no crying in baseball. Let's move forward. And the moon is just like, I want to have my feelings. I really want to sit with this. I want to feel safe. And then the moon has a conversation with Neptune. And Neptune, Neptune can show up in a lot of different ways. But the way that I feel it showing up right now is, sometimes other people's visions and pictures that they paint. There was I can feel it in the air. There's a lot of excitement this past weekend in the digital entrepreneur world. Someone did a massive launch as far as like how to succeed in business. And I could feel the energy of it. And I signed up to engage with it. And as the universe would have it, wasn't in the cards for me to attend. But I kind of tried to tap in a little bit afterwards and watch some of the replays. And the energy of it, it was like I'd had 100 cups of coffee. What this week is saying as we're going to the new moon in Virgo is that somebody else's vision, their vision of success, their definition of success, that's great. And many people may subscribe to that. But is that yours? Because more information, more doing isn't always necessarily better. Virgo is encouraging you to refine, simplify. Where has life been too complicated? Where have you been trying to do too many projects at once, or even over analyzing, over thinking? Allow yourself to say, you know what, I got to cut some of this stuff out. And that might be with certain groups or certain people that are creating an excitement that my body goes into tension and doesn't react well with. So just watch this week. There's a lot of opportunity to move into the role of observer with all these void course of moons and going into that dark moon energy, the balsamic phase. So then as we go into Tuesday, the moon kicks off in Cancer. The moon's having a conversation with Mars, and It's a little bit of frustration of like, Mars is like, let's go, let's do this. You got it. You can do this. And the moon's like, I don't know. I just want to sit here with my chocolate and bonbons and feel safe. And Mars is like, no, 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 really, really, let's go. And then the feelings get a little bit bigger in the evening when the moon has a conversation with Jupiter, the planet of expansion and contraction. What does that mean for you? It means deal with your shift. No. um, and I have such a potty mouth at times, holy cannoli. So it's fun to have a little play on words. Did you ever watch that show, The Good Place, with Kristen Bell? And it was so hysterical. I loved how they, had alternatives for bad language, for potty mouth. It was very cute. And I love too that the medium place was Cincinnati. It's where I am. So anyway, here's what I mean by Tuesday's energy. I want to give you the opportunity to really sit down with emotions and feelings and go through it. If you want to do a burning bowl ceremony, if you want to take a long bath, think water practices as well, because water, the moon's in Cancer, associated with the element of water, to soothe yourself. Tend to the emotions. Say, I feel you. I know you were burned in the past. I know it was scary. I know that they've said that, oh, who do you think you are? Nobody succeeds at that. Remember that story. And I've told it a bajillion times, but I feel inspired to share it again. The tongue twister. The two shoe salespeople who went to a small little village, like 100 years ago, let's say. They went to this little village, and they go to this little village. They get off the train, and first shoe salesperson looks around, and they see everyone running around with no shoes. So they go to the telegram office or telegraph office, and they send a telegram home saying, situation hopeless. No one wears shoes. And then they go home. Second shoe salesperson gets off of the train and looks around. No one's wearing shoes. They go to the telegraph office. And as they go in, they send the telegram home. Glorious business opportunity. No one has shoes. Right? So give yourself that moment this week, especially on Tuesday, to tend to your emotions and feelings. Do what you need to do to feel safe so that by the time Wednesday comes, you can start to tap into that courage and self-belief. Tend to the emotions. Don't distract yourself, by tuning out and looking for that quick dopamine hit and rush. Figure out what brings up, what brings up the hope and the faith and the optimism. I always go to movement. It depends on your natal chart. For me, movement's a big thing. I feel like it can be helpful for a lot of people, but do your moon wherever your moon was when you were born. So if you have a water-based moon, do a water activity, shower, bath. If you have a fire moon, move, do something active, run. If you have an air-based moon, talk with someone, get together with a friend. And if you have an earth-based moon, then get outside into nature. And any of those things can really all be very helpful. And then as you get into Wednesday, the moon has a conversation with Venus. It's a lovely conversation. But then she goes void of course again. And all day she's void of course on Wednesday from like about 8:30 in the morning Eastern time all the way until Thursday afternoon. So Wednesday, so we've got big void of course like Monday afternoon, big void of course all day Monday, or all day Wednesday, all day Wednesday. And you're like, all right, so this is oh no, hold on, cancel, clear, delete. Wednesday, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Wednesday, the moon's only void of course until 7:16 p.m. So it's only void of course all day. Holy cannoli. All right, so enough of the workday. Reflect. We're getting ready for this new moon in Virgo. This could be a time to organize, look around your house. Do you have things that you need to kind of clean up, areas that have gotten piles of papers? Get ready for this Virgo new moon. It's a very sweet energy that's going to help you simplify and refine. So pay attention to your intuition and inklings. So for me, I've been cleaning out the garage. I've been changing my basement, my storage in that area, getting ready to release some things I've held on to for a very long time because my moon's in Cancer and I'm very sentimental about things and I have a hard time letting go of them, especially if a loved one gave them to me. But if they're not It's that law of use, a universal law. If you're not using it, you're going to block the law of abundance of the new things coming into your world. If your hand, if your house, your heart, and your mind are full, you're not going to be able to receive what's coming in. So use that moon on Wednesday, even if you're in the office and you're working or at your desk, think about, okay, I can clear up some of these files, try to avoid making meetings where things actually need to be accomplished. Tie up loose ends, those kinds of things with the moon void, of course, because then in the evening, 7:16 p.m., moon moves into Leo. And that Leo energy is, you're going to feel the shift into your confidence, that self-belief. Okay, I got this. I dealt with my emotions and feelings, Monday night through Tuesday, a little bit of Wednesday. And now I feel like, I can do this. I'm getting everybody else's opinions out of my space. Then we go into Thursday's energy, and moon's still in Leo. So ride that Leo moon. Do as much as you can before 2 in the afternoon Eastern time, because moon's going to go void, of course, again. And now it's void, of course, the whole day. So because we have a lot of these, what's called outer planets, so Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, they've all gone into a brand new zodiac sign. It creates a lot of opportunity for the moon just to kind of hang out like, I don't have anybody to have a conversation with. Like everybody's way over there. I got to wait to talk with them and catch up. So in those times, we're being given the opportunity to reflect, get ready for eclipse season. Shift is coming. And some people are already feeling it. Some people have already been, I'm choosing my words carefully, being given the opportunity to make career changes and shifts. So Thursday, tap into your confidence, tap into the energy. Now the moon is having that conversation with Mars, and she's like, okay, all right, I know I can do this. All right, I got it. It's kind of like the pep talk that Mars was trying to give her on Tuesday finally really starts to kick in by Thursday, especially if you deal with those big feelings and worries. And then we got the void, of course, from 2 in the afternoon, basically all through the rest of the day until Friday at 4:30 p.m. That's a long void moon, of course. It's over 24 hours. It's like 26 hours long. And it's right before the new moon. And then the sun goes into Virgo. Oh, holy cannoli. I'm saying this wrong. My apologies. It's void all day Friday and into Saturday. Listen, this week, the energy's weird. That's why I had us ground in the very beginning what I'm going to do. If you're on my email list, I'm going to write it all out so that it's very clear and concise, because things are shifting. The way that we did things in the past are no longer happening. So let me recap the week ahead, and then we'll talk about the new moon in Virgo and Sunday. Void course of moon. Monday, we have it all the way until 3:05 p.m. Eastern, okay? And then Wednesday, void course of moon. It starts about 8:30 Eastern in the morning and goes until about 7:16 p.m. Eastern in the evening. So that's all during the workday for most people. And then, watching here in the States, across the pond, it'll be later for you. Then Thursday afternoon, void moon, of course, starts at 2:13 p.m. and it goes all the way until Saturday, the 23rd, at 2:06 at 1:24 a.m. when the moon finally has a conversation and enters into the sign of Virgo. Friday, kick back if you can. Allow yourself that time to really reflect. What do you need to let go of? What's changing and shifting for you? This is when knowing how the planets affect you personally can be very, very helpful. I will put this up, irenamiller.co/stars. If you want to know how it affects you directly, you can go there and we can set up a time to talk about it. Hello, Gary. Great to have you. Yeah, Julie, isn't that a great show? The Good Place. So, so cool. So with this energy this week, the new moon in Virgo, the new moon is having a conversation with Uranus. That's a pretty big conversation that says, I'm going to help you shift and change something before the eclipses. So let's get ready. And you think about that card that I pulled for the beginning of the week, and we'll pull a card for each day here in a moment. You're being encouraged to release something now while you're conscious and aware before it gets released for you. And a lot of times that's what the eclipses do. And sometimes an eclipse can happen and we don't even notice it because it's not really lighting anything up in our personal chart where the stars were when we were born, which is why it's nice to find out, well, where is this affecting me? But sometimes these things really affect us. And if we can have a heads up, a little inkling before it happens, we're prepared, and especially just even mentally and emotionally prepared. And it makes the transition easier. We don't feel blindsided. So if you've been feeling like something's a little bit off, whether it's with work and career, whether it's with a routine, and I'm talking about Virgo things because this is a Virgo new moon, that your health and the way that you're approaching it, pay attention to those intuitive inklings. Something Uranus is trying to tell you, something needs to shift, something needs to change. Uranus is the planet of breakdown for breakthrough. And the universe is here saying, if we don't let go of these things that we've been holding on to, and the universe knows this isn't helping you in the long run. This isn't helping you towards your dream. Universe, God, source might give you a little bit of a nudge and be like, okay, let's let go of this. Like maybe the clothes you've been saving forever, you find out a moth, or moths have gotten in there and you're like, oh, I won't fit back into these clothes, or like, I won't have another baby, or blah, 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 whatever. Let them go. Let it bless someone else if you're not using it. And I'm saying a lot of this for me too, because I hold on to things with that sentimental heart. But if I'm not using it, someone else can benefit from it. So do those practices where, you hold your things. I think of Marie Kondo, and it's like, thank you for blessing my life. And I'm going to release you so you can bless someone else's life. And they can utilize it. It's the same thing with work too. It's the same thing with a house. If you've been holding off, what are you holding on to so tightly that if you let go of, new blessings, the big dream in your heart could come in with more ease. And then Sunday, that moon is in Virgo. And I love a good Virgo moon. You look at things analytically. This weekend's going to be great for clearing out. So do the prep work beforehand, look around, observe, reflect, journal, talk with a good friend, a confidant, and get ready to release the things that really have been hanging around that in your heart it's time to let go of. Okay, let's go ahead and look at a card for each day of the week, how to make the most of the energy. So Monday's Gemini moon, how can you make the most of it? Holy cannoli, rest, rest, rest. So when that moon is void, of course, take a moment to rest. You've been working really, really hard. And if you are at that teetering point of burnout, or maybe you're already there, this card says take a moment to rest. It doesn't have to be a long moment. It might be sitting with your feet up. It might be standing outside on the grass barefoot. It might be going for a walk, or it might be saying, you know what, today I'm taking a nap. This card is saying rest, not a day to push Monday. Okay, Tuesday. How to make the most of Tuesday's energy as the moon is in Cancer. All right, the Hierophant. So this card, the reason that I love it, let's see if I can get it to focus on it, is that it's saying, you know, the pathway that leads to joy, it's important to bring laughter and playfulness along with you. I used to have a teacher, and when I was first learning energy work and how to read energy, and I would go to see her and I'd be on her massage table and she'd be teaching me and training me. She'd tap right on my forehead, where you get that frowny and that wrinkle. And she'd say, stop being so serious. Stop being so serious. Because when we approach these spiritual practices in a very serious way, like I'm going to get it right, I'm going to do this, and we're working so hard, we lose a connection, we miss something. So yes, we can take the practices very seriously, but bring a joyfulness into them. When you see the beautiful spirits, these humans, spiritual beings having human experiences, who are so close to God, there's a joyfulness, there's a playfulness, there's a childlikeness about them. So tap into that awe and wonder that many children have because they haven't had the hard life experiences. They can look at the dew on the grass or the beautiful sunrise or the puppies or, the dandelion, and they're not seeing eaten shoes and like more dandelions in the yard after you blow and make a wish. But they're just so in awe, they're so in wonder. Tap into that inner, like, awe and wonder, and as you do that, because the interesting thing is that the moon's having that conversation with Saturn, who's all about tradition and rules, and the Hierophant card is about tradition and rules, and it is about playing by the rules of the game, so to speak. But this artist in her deck, I feel like she says, you know what? There's many different ways that we can connect with our heart, we can ground, that we can find love, and we can find the answers. So breathe into that awareness. Okay. Then as you go into Wednesday with the moon starting off in Cancer, how can you make the most of the day? Queen of Cups. So beautiful. Moon in Cancer is a water sign. This says trust your intuition. With Wednesday, we have that void course of moon. For East Coast, it's pretty much all during the workday hours. West Coast, it's pretty much for most of the workday hours for you too. Across the pond, it'll be a little bit later. But tune into your intuition. Pay attention to the inklings. You're getting messages and hints. Can you see them? Are you aware of them? That's why I love to teach people the language of intuition. How are your intuitive gifts coming through? Because then you'll be more likely to pick up on the messages. Do you see things? Like, do you have dreams? Do you have bumper stickers or vanity plates? You see them and you're inspired. Do you just have knowings? Like, you get goosebumps when someone's talking? Or who haven't I talked about? Clairaudience. I guess clairaudience. Do you wake up with like a song in your head that gives you the insight of what you need to take, what step you need to take next? Pay attention to intuition on Wednesday. Thursday is you're going into the energy. Moon is in Leo. How can you make the most of that moon? Woo, I'm getting two jumping out, so we're going to go with it. All right, the Hermit card. Now, this is interesting. So, Hermit card, this is why I say it's interesting, because this card is one that says, okay, it's time to come out of isolation. It's time to lead others with your hard earned knowledge and awareness and expertise of what you've built over the years, to shine the light and help others up this kind of crazy path. But in this process, when the moon goes void, of course, later in the day, what I'm going to say is that you might discover that there's an inward reflection of, okay, where is my level of expertise right now? How do I want to share that with the world? Why do I want to share it? What do I want to share exactly? So spend some time Thursday afternoon, evening, and into Friday to go back and remember your successes. What have you accomplished in this life? Because it reminds me of, I had a client a couple moons ago, let's say, who was looking to switch professions, careers, and she was trying to figure out, okay, well, what I did in the past, I don't want to keep doing, but what are my transferable skills? And she went through and she listed everything that she knew how to do, like on a very, let's say, high level, and then you could drill down into it for basics or more details, but it enabled her to not look at it as a role of like, oh, okay, I was an analyst and I want to become a teacher. It was, how do I want to say? Well, I'll just put it this way. She listed the skills on a very high level, so it didn't have to be linked to a specific profession. Take a moment, tap into the things that you have really worked on that you can bring forward with you, that you can talk about with others. And then Friday for a happy birthday, our Virgo friends, the sun moves into Virgo. This is an all-day void moon, of course. So Friday, we're just hanging out in the sense of don't start anything new. You're in that balsamic phase of the moon, deep, intuitive, meditative, contemplative type of moments. New moon on Saturday, we'll plant those new seeds of the things we wish to grow. But how can you make the most of Friday's energy? King of Pentacles. Get outside if you can. This is a day to ground. This is a day to, again, recognize your level of expertise, that you have a lot of hard-earned, hard-won knowledge, that what you touch can turn to gold. This is the Midas card. What do you want to build? You can reflect back. You can analyze on this day in the sense of, how far have I come? What have I done? Where do I want to go? Where do I want to invest my time, my energy, my money? What am I doing right now? Of course, you have your handy dandy doggy with you, beautiful wolf energy. Friday's beautiful, but don't force yourself into overworking. Saturday is a new moon in Virgo. And this is where you're going to get a little bit of a preview of the shifts that are coming with the eclipse. So, how can you make the most of it? Have some fun. The stallion, the black stallion in the background always catches my eye. That's a card of freedom or a symbol of freedom to me. Allow yourself to experience the what ifs. What if? What if I didn't now always have to walk around these boxes to get to like my can of beans? Thinking in my storage room where I've got boxes stored of things. I've got to navigate around them to get to my kidney beans and black beans and all that stuff. Makes it difficult. What if I didn't hold this old belief about myself like, oh, I've always been an analyst. How can I ever step into the role of teacher? What if? What if I didn't let this fear hold me back? Where would you go? Mm. So interesting. Okay. And now, as you move into Sunday's energy, how can you make the most of Sunday with the moon in Virgo? Three of Cups. So, Three of Cups, surround yourself, find community of like hearted spirits. Allow yourself that opportunity to know that there are people who have your back, who are cheering you on. And if you feel like I can't find them, I can't connect with them, then take a moment to reach out to someone that you know and cheer them on. Be their believing eyes. And you're going to find often that that builds up the beautiful support. So many times people are so wrapped up in just the frustrations of life and just the toil and turmoil of getting through the day. So I want to invite you, bring your friends around you, gather, because when you gather in a group, there's much greater strength and support. Okay. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It's always a joy to have this time with you on Monday mornings. So every Monday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, join in for live practices. And I just want to close with an idea for a new moon ritual for you as you get ready for this Virgo moon. Think about clearing or cleansing your space. Get ready this week. Virgo loves to have things nice, neat, tidy, and orderly. So clean up your space. Think of it almost like a spring or a fall cleaning, depending on your hemisphere where you are. Then once you've done that, bless the space. Virgo is connected with the energy of the priest or priestess. It's very, very connected to the beautiful spirit within. So bless your space. Maybe you light a candle. Maybe you use sage. Maybe you play particular music or you ring a bell. Bless your space, however that looks for you. Then I'm going to encourage you, write down new moon wishes, no more than 10, all around maybe the areas that you are starting to notice something is shifting here. Something really needs to go and be released. Write down those new moon intentions. And Moon Club members, we've got our Moon Club ritual. If you're interested in Moon Club, irenamiller.co/club, check it out. This is an opportunity to be prepared. So you write down your new moon wish intentions. And for this one, here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. Fold your new moon wish intentions because you want to handwrite them, not type them. The handwriting is important. And then as you close it, if you have you can make like a little wax seal, drip a little bit of candle wax on it, or if you have a seal, and seal the envelope to be opened later after the eclipses, or maybe even when we have the full moon in Virgo 6 months from now, you can come back to it. But give yourself that opportunity to write down the new moon wishes, seal them, and then close sacred space. So it's something very similar, this new moon ritual that I'm going to be bringing my Moon Club members through. Thank you again for being here. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Hannah. So great to have you all. Much, much love. Remember, trust your vibes, follow your heart. And until we meet again, much, much love to you. Mwah. All right. Catch you on the flip side. Bye, guys.